I'm going to start out with our new employees as we normally do. Make sure I can get this up and going. So we did introduce at the last college-wide meeting Susan, Tu, and Robin, so I won't go over those bios with you. I will start with Kayla Buff, who was hired as a full-time cosmetology instructor effective January 1st. Kayla most recently worked at Western Piedmont as an adjunct cosmetology instructor, and before that she was at Isothermal Community College and a stylist at Turning Heads Salon in Forest City. Kayla earned her Associate in Applied Science degree in cosmetology from Isothermal Community College. Stacy Burchett began work as mathematics instructor on January the 1st. Stacy comes to us from Caldwell County Schools, where he taught freshman and sophomore mathematics courses. Stacy has also worked for Catawba Valley Community College, and he obtained his Bachelor of Science degree in Mathematics Secondary Education from Appalachian State University and a Master of Science degree in Mathematical Sciences from the University of West Florida. Leslie Huss began January 1st as a mathematics instructor. Leslie comes to us from Gaston College, where she taught mathematics. She has previously taught at the University of Phoenix, Western Piedmont Community College, and East Burke High School. Leslie's education includes a Bachelor of Science degree in Mathematics Education from NC State University and a Master of Arts degree in Mathematics Education from Appalachian State University. Steve Crawford came to us as Coordinator Computer Integrated Machining Technology Instructor, effective January 1st. Steve comes to us from DZ Atlantic/Duke Energy in Norfolk, Virginia, where he worked as a lead machinist. Steve earned an Associate in Arts degree and a Diploma in Machinist from Caldwell Community College and Technical Institute. Randy Burns, I think he's the only one I've got here today, was hired as Project Manager for Innovation and Partnerships, effective January the 1st. Randy comes to Western Piedmont from the North Carolina Center of Engineering Technologies, where he has served as the Facility and Laboratories Manager. He also worked for Catawba Valley Community College as lead instructor in the Furniture Production and Management program. He earned his Associate in Applied Science degree in Furniture Production and Management from CVCC, and he will be a direct report to the President and is responsible for building construction, agriculture, the Small Business Center, entrepreneurships, and apprenticeship programs, and it's going to be jointly working between Western Piedmont and CVCC, responsible for continuing our collaborative efforts, and will be housed at the K building on the Jim Richardson campus at this time. Chad Wilkes has been promoted to grounds lead effective January the 1st. Chad began working for Western Piedmont as a facility service aide in 2018. Chad earned his Associate in Applied Science degree in Horticulture Technology from Western Piedmont Community College. So we want to welcome all of these individuals and congratulate Chad for his promotion. At the trustee meeting, I'm not going to go over these individual items necessarily, but just a few of the things that the trustees were notified of or given updates on or had to approve. So we had some information that comes from the North Carolina retirement system, our facility updates that we do, approval to dispose of surplus items through govdeals.com, approval of the fiscal year 2019-2020 college budget, and the report of budget transfers and allocations. And then they had several 3-1 forms to approve, and these are approval forms for our capital projects that go to the system office and hence the state board for approval. For the budget, I know that's on everyone's mind, the state board did approve the system office budget on December the 11th, 2019. The budgets have been posted in Datatel, so you can review those. Longevity allocations are still to come, so they are not posted yet, but they should be here sometime into January or 1st of February. However, there are still no salary increases from the legislators at this time, part of that budget. Speaking of that, Western Piedmont did have a decline in our budgeted FTE this past year, so we did have a small decline in our funding formula. However, we're really excited about our enrollment numbers that we're experiencing this year, and so we hope that next year's budget is going to look much better. Statewide, there is still that stalemate regarding an official state budget. The legislators went back to Raleigh yesterday, January 14th. Unfortunately, there was not a breakthrough on the budget. The House overrode the governor's veto on September the 11th. However, there was just not enough votes in the Senate to override the budget. So the state has been operating on the last budget, which rolled over, along with several mini budget bills that became law over the past few months. Excuse me. Yesterday, as they were there, they did talk about the budget, and there was another mini budget that went through, or that was going to be discussed, but it did not go anywhere. So salary increases for UNC employees, community college employees, non-certified school personnel, and retirees have still not went anywhere at this time. The Senate was adjourned without ever calling that up. Instead, they sent the budget back to committee. So there's a lot going on in Raleigh. We hope that they will come to a resolution and a compromise, but at this point, they're not scheduled to be back in Raleigh until April. So we don't know if they will actually work on any salary increases for this year or not. So we're still going to keep our fingers crossed and still hope for a compromise, but that's unfortunately where we are at this point. I have asked the deans and the directors to review their budget after our January adjustments to determine if we need to review anything else at this time, and then plan to have purchases entered by the end of March so we can have all of the purchase orders processed by April the 10th in order to begin the process for closing out the fiscal year in that final quarter. Because as you know, we need to have everything in and paid for and purchase orders closed before June 30th. So we'll continue to work on that, and you'll continue to get information on those deadlines as we go. Data breaches, I just want to mention this really quickly. I know I've been talking about it the last few college-wide meetings, but again, just be careful with emails and links that you see. The rise of data breaches continues to grow, not just within the community college system, but across the state. Local governments, city governments, counties, along with industries as well. So we are not immune from getting hit by security breaches, so please keep that in mind. And just, we emphasize, if you get anything through an email, just follow up with somebody through a phone call or come see them, just to make sure that that information is. We usually will not send sensitive information through the emails, so keep that in mind as well. But just follow up if you have any concerns at all. And if you don't recognize the sender, you probably don't need to open it at all. Accidents on campus, this came up a while back that someone asked me to review just what happens when we have accidents on campus or during college events. So obviously, first thing, depending on the accident, you may want to call 911 if you need to. Whether the person wants you to or not, there's not going to be a charge to the student or the person who has an accident if they don't go with the ambulance, but sometimes it's better to be safer than sorry and call 911 if needed. Above that, you should always call security to come over and take a look at the accident, take pictures of the location if necessary, and make an incident report so that they will have that information on file in case it's needed later. If it is an off-campus activity or a field trip, whoever the college employee is that is with that group should make a written documentation of the incident at that time so that we can have that when you come back on campus. For students, as part of curriculum and some Con Ed classes, they do pay a student accident insurance fee, so that will cover them, but they would need to come and see Wendy Maney in the business office to get that process started within 2 weeks. The sooner the better, but definitely within 2 weeks of the accident happening so that we can get that started. And their regular insurance would have to cover first, and then their student accident insurance would cover after that. If it's a guest or a community member, they still need to come and see Wendy Maney at the business office, and we will file that through our general property insurance. If it's an employee, we still go through the same process, but the employees need to see Anita Berry in Human Resources for workers' comp issues. So no matter how minor the accident seems, it's always good to have a report of the incident, and we like for that to always go through security so that they can make that report and they know what they're looking for and take pictures as necessary. And then we haven't reminded in a while, but along with our campus safety, if you see something, say something. No matter how minor, you just want to let somebody know if you see something that looks a little bit strange. As far as facility updates, the door renovations are still in progress. They've got most of the buildings on the main campus. As far as wired, They're trying to get them all on the system now, so we're still working through that process. More hall renovations in 275. You can see the before of just a regular classroom, which is now the boardroom, trustee seminar room. That will be for the trustee meetings and also other meetings, external and internal, that will be on campus. I believe the new employee reception is scheduled there for the end of January, I think. The facility master plan, we're still working through that with the architects. We've got their draft of their final report. We're working with them to get that finalized, and they will come to our April trustee meeting to present to the Board of Trustees at that time. The campus signage, we worked with an architect, a group of employees worked with the architect for what those signage may look like, and they sent that out for bids. We sent it to 5 sign vendors. We only received 2 bids back, so we will continue to work with them to try to get that in order and get moving so that our signs will be more accurate. The access road or entrance road for the North Carolina School of Science and Math, you can continue to see it being completed at the front of the campus. They will probably still have to bring in some more dirt, as you've seen over the last couple months now, but that should be completed in the in time for their opening. But it just takes a little time for all of that dirt to come in and for it to get where they need it to be in order to pave. The Homes Urban purchase and sale over on the Jim Richardson complex is still going on. We have signed an amendment to give them an extension of 90 days to continue their due diligence and also to get their financing in order, but they are anticipating a closing date at the end of March, and so we are looking forward to that. We are trying to work on the trades building, which is the Building Construction Technology Program, because they are currently located near the K building on the spot where the land is being looked at by Homes Urban, and so they will have to move. So we are looking at getting a designer for that building so we can get started on it. A couple other projects in play is a roof replacement for Patton Hall and E building. We've got an architect on contract now working on the designs for that roof replacement, and we hope to have that completed by the end of the summer, kind of working with classes and what's going on in those buildings to see the best time for that. The presidential search, you can see the timeline that we've put up each college-wide meeting. Right now we're in the phase where the presidential search committee is reviewing and ranking the applications through an electronic portal. They've got through January 24th, and they'll send their rankings in to ACCT. Once that happens, Ken and Briggs, our consultant, will take all of those rankings and get an average for each of the applicants. He will be on site on January the 29th to work with the committee in order to narrow those down to 6 to 8 semifinalists, who the committee will then interview electronically through GoToMeeting, and at that point narrow it down to 3 to 4 finalists that will come on campus the last week of February, that 24th through the 28th. Right after the finalist interviews, the full Board of Trustees will vote on the top choices. We can send up to 3 names to the system office, and when you want to send more than one in case something falls through in your negotiations with your first choice, that will go to the state board meeting at the end of March, and then hopefully the president will start July 1st. So there will be a seamless transition there. Just as a reminder, we cannot release the name of the finalist until the state board does approve it. So you won't, even though the trustees will vote at the end of February, you will not hear the finalist name until the end of March, once the state board approves it. The applicant pool, everybody in here that's not on the search committee is probably going to sing a sigh of relief at this moment, but there are 79 total applications for the president. 27 within North Carolina, 28 from outside of North Carolina. We did have 4 from foreign countries. We've been joking around that we might need a site visit. I'm leaning towards the Bahamas. But that search committee, they have got their work cut out for them trying to go through 79 applications over the next 2 weeks. Our consultant did rank them into different pools, a top pool down to a pool that doesn't have the qualifications. So hopefully that will help somewhat as well. The 28 that are in the A pool, which our consultant feels like they have the qualifications, they feel like they'll be a good fit. That's 35% of the pool. He feels like there's a really good, strong 10 to 15 candidates that are definitely in that pool at least. Then you have 34 in the B pool, 43%, which is they probably have the qualifications, but maybe not quite the fit, but still that's for the committee to analyze and see what their thoughts are. And then the C pool, they really don't have the qualifications nor the experience to be the president. The 9 local, I want to mention that if you see local, you think probably Burke County, but not local by definition of ACCT is anybody that could be a known entity to somebody on the committee. So that could be somebody that works at a sister college like Mitchell or McDowell or isothermal. It could be somebody that's worked in Burke County before, but they've moved away. And it obviously could be somebody that does work in Burke County now. So that's kind of the breakdown of the applications. We will continue to give progress reports, or ACCT will write progress reports, and we hope there's one coming, number 3, over the next week or so. Ken and Briggs will be working on that. The Presidential Search website page, you can read those progress reports, go back to read those if you need to, review the profile. All of the information is on there. We try to keep that updated as much as possible. An important thing, the week of the finalists, that last week of February, this is kind of a sample agenda. It's not finalized yet of what we're looking at, but the candidate will be on campus that entire day, pretty much. They will meet with Dr. Helmick first, just for a short meeting, and then have a tour of the campus, have lunch with senior staff, then probably a community tour where we may drive them around. And then at 3 o'clock, there will be a public forum. Please encourage everyone in your area to come to the public forum to hear the candidate. Ken and Briggs will start out with some questions that he has just to get things going, but then he will take questions from the audience. So you can ask a question that you feel like you need to at that time. There will be a survey that will be available after the forum for that particular candidate, so that you can give your feedback. That survey goes straight to ACCT, and what Ken and Briggs will do is compile the survey comments and then summarize that to the trustees on Friday. That survey will probably only be open for a short period, probably 4 to 5 hours after that forum, so because the next day you've got another applicant. So please come to the forums, encourage your students, your peers, people in the community. It's open to everybody. So come to those forums and give your feedback afterwards. Once that's completed, the candidate will have an interview with the trustees at 5:30, and then that night they will actually go to dinner with not all of the trustees, but a few trustees each night, so that they have a chance for that socialization time as well. On Friday of that week, the trustees will vote on their ranking of who the next president should be. And that should be it for me, so I'm going to turn it over. I don't think I was as long as I was yesterday. So.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I get to stand up here and report exciting numbers for us this spring. These are still preliminary numbers. As we know, we haven't hit our census date yet, but our head count for this spring is up to 1994. That's about 13.8% above where we were last year. So we're excited that the head count is up, and also, as importantly, our FTE is up. At this point, it's up about 10.8% from last year. So keep encouraging everyone to show up for classes, be here on our census date, and hopefully we will see some really strong numbers this spring. One of the big questions that a lot of folks are wondering is that we know CCP is growing, but what's happening with our traditional students or our non-CCP Burke Middle College students? We are also up this semester about 4.4% right now. We're at 1,334 as compared to 1,279 last year. And so this is very encouraging, and we hope that these numbers will continue. Once we hit our census date and have some more finalized numbers, we'll be updating all of this information. My primary report to the trustees yesterday was regarding our strategic plan. And as you recall, our strategic plan began in 2016, so we're nearing the completion of our strategic plan. And all along, the goals of our strategic plan were to try and help link our mission statement to our vision statement, to really help us achieve our vision. So we have those 5 strategic goals, and as you all are very aware, everyone through the program review process has identified activities that they're working on to help us achieve our strategic plan. What I'm going to review today are just some of the bigger activities that Planning Council has been looking at over the past few years. So even though you will not see your specific program or activity listed, please be aware that that information is compiled annually and shared with senior staff and with Planning Council. So last year, our focus was around advising, and as you're aware, an advising team was appointed, and that team did a lot of work last year in reviewing what we had done previously with advising and where we were currently. So this year is really the implementation phase of many of those advising activities and research that occurred last year. So you all have received new advising materials, and also we're excited that Aviso has been implemented this semester, and Ria's going to talk about that in a few minutes. But hopefully this Aviso software is going to help us also improve our retention and completion rates. Under employee development, much of this has also revolved around advising. We had the Professional Development Committee formalized last year. This sort of resulted from our QEP. This year, that committee has really focused on advising. And Planning Council also wanted to put as a priority having faculty and staff engaged in our presidential search this year. And so we've seen a lot of you already participating in those activities, and as Sandy already encouraged you to do so, there will be additional opportunities next month. Under workforce development, last year the Planning Council started looking at the idea of CCP cohorts, and a lot of work was done on the mechatronics and machining cohort, and we saw very positive results from that activity. So that's continuing this year, and next year there will be some additional cohorts implemented. We also had a lot of work done last year on short-term training opportunities, and this year we're really focusing on all of the activities and work that's going on in customized training. Under community engagement and outreach, last year was the first year of our implementation of Pioneer Preview. We saw good success with that activity and a lot of positive feedback that folks wanted to see that continue. So this year, the Planning Council has set a goal of trying to get 225 high school students on our campus on April 23rd for that event. That represents about 25% of the high school class, or the seniors in Burke County Public High Schools this year. This past summer, we had a new event that was the YMC Summer Camp, so that brought some new folks to our campus. And if any of you had an opportunity to participate last night in the Symbols of the South Symposium, that's a new activity under community engagement and outreach this year. This auditorium was packed last night, and Dr. Helmick may talk about that in a little bit as well. Under institutional enhancement, last year we saw a lot of activity revolving around emergency action plans. And last year and this year, we're seeing a lot of activity focused on reaccreditation processes. We still have not heard back on our SAC-COC fifth year interim report, but I do anticipate we'll hear back on that shortly. And of course, this year, the facility master plan, which Sandy just spoke about. So as we look at all of these activities that are underway, one of the key questions is, well, how do we know if we're achieving our vision of being Burke County's education of choice? If we're meeting local citizens' educational needs? Are we fostering regional economic growth? So I've pulled together a few data points, and I realize from where you're sitting, this is not going to be visible. So I'll try and just hit the highlights here. You can see on this screen, there's a fairly large blue box at the bottom. And that represents the percentage of Burke County residents, fall 2018, who were enrolled in post-secondary education, undergraduate, at Western Piedmont. The other boxes represent how many of those residents were enrolled at other institutions, whether North Carolina community colleges or UNC institutions. So what this slide is really showing is that 48% of Burke County residents who were enrolled in higher education, undergraduate, fall 2018, were enrolled here at Western Piedmont. So we are the biggest provider of post-secondary education in Burke County. This shows our historical trends. So over the years, we've been sort of right around that 50% mark, and as we continue our work, we hope to see this line trending upward. Another slide that I shared with the trustees was the percentage of high school students that we're capturing after they complete high school. And this shows that 48% of Burke County public high school graduates enroll in a North Carolina community college within 2 years of graduation. So 48% of the 2017 class of Burke County high school graduates enrolled in a North Carolina community college by this fall. And historically, we've been a little bit higher, 2011, 2012, 2013, then we dipped down a little bit, and now we're starting to see that trend growing up. So again, we want to see this line continuing to move up as we implement our activities in our strategic plan. Another way that we measure if we're meeting local citizens' educational needs is how many of our students are completing. And this particular slide shows us that of our fall cohorts, how many complete within 6 years of beginning at Western Piedmont. And the blue line shows our data as compared to the national benchmark, which is the gray line. So you can see from this that we are consistently outperforming the national benchmark. And as we continue to move forward, again, we want to see that line continuing to go up. Another way that we can look at meeting local citizens' educational needs and fostering regional economic growth is thinking about how many students are becoming employed after they leave us, or how many students are enrolling in that next educational step. So this particular slide shows of students that complete an associate degree, what percentage wind up leaving us and going on to another North Carolina institution of higher education or becoming employed in North Carolina. And so after 1 year, the trend has been from about 90 to 94% of our students are falling into those categories of being employed in North Carolina or going on for additional post-secondary education in North Carolina. And as you get a few years out, we're right around 89% of our students are meeting that criteria. Many of those data points focused on curriculum students, and I don't want to leave out the folks in college and career readiness, the folks in continuing education. So this particular slide was to highlight one very specific program in college and career readiness that was started in 2018. And it's really demonstrating that after our students complete those programs, they're moving on into jobs, into other programs over in college and career readiness, or they're transitioning over here to curriculum courses. And over in the customized industry training area, this slide really shows the dramatic increase that we've seen over the past few years in services to our local industries. And so as we're thinking about all these data points, one very important thing that we want to always remember is that we are an open door institution. And so our core value of diversity is really important to us because we serve all students regardless of ability, race, ethnic origin. So keeping in mind some of those data points, one of the things we can look at is what is our racial and ethnic breakdown of students as well as faculty and staff. And so this particular slide has a lot of numbers in it, but it shows in that first column, what do the demographics look like for Burke County? And then in the next three columns, what do our demographics look like for students in curriculum, in Con Ed, in basic skills? And then the following column shows what does our faculty and staff makeup look like. So if you look at that first line, you'll see that in Burke County, 2018 estimate is that we're about 6% Hispanic or Latino. If you look at our curriculum student data, we're about 8%, Con Ed 3%, basic skills 26%, and faculty and staff just below 1%. Burke County is predominantly white, and you can see that reflected in our numbers up there. Black or African American, Burke County is about 7.6%. Our curriculum students 7%, Con Ed 9%, and then basic skills 34%. Faculty and staff were at 3.7%. And then the other big category is Asian. Burke County overall about 4.1%. Our curriculum students 7%, Con Ed students 2%, and basic skills students 3%, faculty and staff 1.4%. So you can see that we are serving a diverse population. Human Resources is hard at work, always looking at our faculty and staff makeup. Our Human Resources Director is working with Select 2000 to look at these issues across Burke County. So this is one example of diversity, but we know that there are many, many other ways that students can be diverse, and so we'll be seeing if we can pull more data points on those areas in the future. So we're nearing the end of our strategic plan. This summer, probably in June, with Dr. Helmick, we will review what we've accomplished this year and what loose ends we may be trying to tie up through the remainder of this year. I would anticipate that once our new president is on board, we will be looking at probably starting the strategic planning process for our next plan. So I appreciate everyone's work in carrying out those yearly activities and providing your updates in your program reviews. And if anyone wants to talk about any of the data points that were flashed up here, I would encourage you to contact me and I'll get that data to you. So at this point, I believe I'm turning it over to Rhea.
Good afternoon. My part is much shorter, I promise, and I do not even have a PowerPoint. We've been quite busy over the last few months, and Susan mentioned Aviso. And first of all, I want to say a special thank you to Valerie, Keith, Nancy, Annette Joy, Susan Williams, and all others who had a part in this Aviso implementation. A lot of work has gone through to get us ready for this, and we're very pleased that we have now gone live. On January 7th, all faculty were trained, all full-time faculty were trained, and I'm very excited to say I have faculty calling. Can I go ahead and use it? Can I go ahead and use it? And so that's really good. For those of you that don't really know what Aviso is, it gives us an opportunity to be proactive instead of reactive to some of the at-risk students that we have on campus. This gives us an opportunity to give them the attention that they need to help them be successful. The system will automatically send emails to, or send messages to students congratulating them on accomplishments, as well as just gentle nudges. Your attendance is not what it needs to be in this class, or I see you got a low grade average right now, or and give little hints on how to improve that. We're hoping that this is going to help us improve our student retention. Another thing I updated the board on was some of the new programs that we're working on. We've been very busy working on some new different programs, both CCP and regular curriculum. Lee Kaiser and I have met with the education director at the prison to look at, are there new programs we can do there? And we have a couple of ideas that we're working on, and I'll bring more information to you before long on those. Suzanne Crawford, Karen Pritchard, Rachel Bradshaw, and I met with Cynthia Cross from the hospital system to talk about 2 new CCP programs that are going to be effective in the fall. Suzanne Crawford has worked very hard on these, and we're very proud of them. We will now offer a CCP in medical assisting and a CCP in nursing. The hospital has been very, very receptive, and in fact are going to help some with textbooks, uniforms, etc. for these CCP students. We're also in the beginning stages of creating a CCP and recreational therapy assistant, as well as other new CCP programs for the fall, early childhood and construction. And Suzanne, is that all of them? I think so. There's a lot. We've been busy. Another program that we're looking at is the Associate in Engineering. We're not finalized with it yet, but we are exploring that, and we have plans right now to look at that to be effective fall of '21, but more work will have to be done on that. And so basically that was my report last night to the board, yesterday afternoon to the board, just to let them know what's going on with programs. Thank you.
I have to lower the microphone. Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Miller. I'm the Director of Grant Development and Administration. On behalf of Stacy Scholler and the Western Piedmont Foundation, I am very pleased to announce that the Fall 2019 mini grant recipients have been selected and notified. So without further ado, Emily Nestor, representing Distance Learning. Emily will receive funding to help establish a new model of course design for distance learning. Katie Hoover, representing Arts and Sciences. Katie will receive funding to attend and present at the National Organization for Student Success Conference this spring. Lily Patterson was just had a flood of ideas. So she's receiving 2 mini grants. She's representing Arts and Science Division. She will receive 1 mini grant to set up a healthy cooking demonstration with recipes and samples of healthy foods. And she will receive funding for registration fees for her students in her PED 121 class to complete a community 5K. So she's gonna have a busy semester. And then Stacy Johnson, also representing Arts and Sciences, will receive funding to purchase the Game of Elements, which will help students understand trends on the periodic table by using active learning strategies. So we're still keeping our QEP alive. Please join me in congratulating these folks. And just to note that the mini grant awards are a wonderful example of how your donation to the Western Piedmont Foundation is being put to work. Also, a huge thank you goes to the members of the mini grant selection committee. Stacy Scholler serves just as the foundation representative, Chris Bailey, Workforce Development and Con Ed, Valerie Hightower with Applied Technologies, Hope McPeters with Administrative Services, Christina Rasmussen with Administrative Services in the Bookstore, Ashley Wells with Arts and Sciences. These people provide their invaluable discussion, ideas, and recommendations and feedback during the selection process. So thank you to them as well.
Pretty sure I'm next and last, so we can congratulate you. A few things based on what you all were just told. Think back 5 years ago when we had a strategic plan that we were just wrapping up. We'd spent about a year developing that strategic plan. It's great to get to this point and see the accomplishments. You actually see them in graph form and chart form. When we started that, we thought they were achievable goals. But congratulations to you all for helping us achieve the goals that we set out to do 5 years ago. I think it's great when we set those goals. We weren't able to do everything we wanted to do. We weren't able to do it at the level that we wanted to. But considering the budget years that we have been through the last few years, to have accomplished what we have, you all deserve a lot of congratulations. And I also want to congratulate you on that incredible enrollment growth that we've had this year. Last year, enrollment in the curriculum side was up just a little bit. We were down in some of the other areas, which made us slightly down overall. But to have come from where we were, and if you look at if you had the statewide charts of where enrollment decline has occurred across the state, we were not looking too good. So to have come up probably about 8% when it's all said and done with the FTE enrollment for this year, that's going to be phenomenal. And looks like we're going to be up across the board when we come in at the end of that. So I'm very pleased. It's a good time for me to leave with the enrollment up and the strategic plan accomplished and ready to start a new one. I came in as new president and started that strategic plan process. It seems like every place I go, I get to do strategic plans, but you all will have that shot again, and it's going to be an exciting time. A lot of things going on. I do plan on working until June 30th, so in case anybody's wondering, I'm not taking any long vacations, and I'm not planning on coming in late, leaving early, and all that stuff. I plan on doing things right up until the last day, so if anybody has been worried about what I was going to do, rest assured that I'm going to be making changes right up to the last minute, which seems to be what I do around here. What Kathy's going to do after I retire, I don't know. You're going to have to ask Kathy. You know, everybody seems okay with me retiring. They're very concerned about Kathy retiring, so, which I find interesting, but that's okay too. You ever write notes to yourself and then you can't read them? Data breach. I knew that was what that said. If you have a data breach and it comes from me, if you get a message from me, let me give you a clue. If it does not have my middle initial in the signature line, it's not from me. So that's one of the little things that we do. Middle initial with a period after. Otherwise, be very suspicious. I understand some things have come from me asking for a variety of things for you all to do, most of them involving money and most of them involving money going to foreign countries, but that is not me. I do not have any money stashed away in foreign accounts. So if you get something from me, it doesn't have my middle initial in it. I would call Kathy, and she'll say, nah, that's probably not from him. I've gotten a number of those too. It's interesting when they write me with using my name, asking me for money, but it does happen. Some of you all have been a little curious about the offices that we are moving. Let me give you the 10,000-foot view of that. We are doing a lot of moving in K building, and what we're trying to do is position K building to maximize the use for the future and also to consolidate some of our services onto this campus so that we can serve them better. So as we start to move offices around, don't be coming up with any scenarios that are not accurate, that we are asking people to move and moving those offices to other places. You heard Randy Burns, who was introduced earlier. Yes, he is that Randy Burns, so the one that you all are aware of, who was former school board chair and is now working for us. Randy will be in K building, and part of that title that he has is innovation and partnership. So innovation will be the piece where we're going to be moving a number of programs into that and also working with some of our partners out in the community to expand the services there. We do plan on leaving both agriculture and construction in those areas. We do have a plan once we sell the property to Homes Urban of a place to put the building construction lab as we start to raise money and develop the plan for the ultimate trades building, we're calling it, but that's essentially a building construction building. So have patience. I told you I was going to make changes, and we'll probably continue to make a few changes, but nothing that will inconvenience us for the long haul. It will actually position us in a good place. I think that if we don't take advantage of these opportunities when there is room for growth, we hurt ourselves down the road. So we could be faced with another enrollment drop if we're not constantly watching the market and seeing where things are going. We've got a really big opportunity right now with all the changes going on in Burke County to participate in those changes and make sure that we are set. There are a number of other things that are in the hopper that are being worked on that I won't go into today. But they're exciting changes that will, I hope, and I think that will position this college for the future to have an incredible future, to become a regional community college that serves beyond our borders. And that's what we're trying to position ourselves to do, because I think that's where the growth will occur. You heard a mention about the Symbols of the South meeting last night. It was actually a presentation by Dr. Catherine Cox, who is from UNC Charlotte. She gave quite an interesting program, the historical basis, excuse me, about those symbols that represent the Southern culture that occurred after the Civil War. If you were not there, I'm sorry, you missed a good presentation. This room was packed. I've not seen this room that full except for a few graduations that we've had in here and a few other occasions. It was a very receptive audience. It was a very lively bunch of questions. We did take written questions and then ask those questions. There will be another part of that series that will be on February the 20th. Dr. Cameron Lippard from ASU will be here in this auditorium at 7 p.m. to do the next stretch of that, which will be a presentation, again, on some symbols of the South, but he's taking the sociological view, whereas Dr. Cox took the historical view. I think you would find it interesting. We had, as I said, a very receptive crowd. A lot of the churches in the area helped support that, as well as the college supporting that. But we hope that you would be able to come to that and enlighten yourself about what's going on in our Southern culture. But it is part of our outreach to the community, much like our speaker series that we do in the fall. You may want to mark your calendars if you want to come and tell me goodbye before faculty especially. The first retirement reception will be on May the 13th from 9 to 11 in the boardroom. Is where we're planning on having it. That will be the faculty and staff reception for my retirement. I know I don't retire until the end of the next month, but if we don't do it on the 13th, most of the faculty are going to be gone. So that's why we're doing it at that time. No tears, just, come and say goodbye. And many of you I will not see after that time. I will be there for graduation. In fact, I will be your graduation speaker this year. So I took presidential privilege to do graduation speaking this time. So I hope you will be there. I'd love to see you. I am not cooking for that reception. So for some of you, that's a good thing. And for the rest of you, I hope you're disappointed, but we will buy our food for that reception. But I hope that you can make it. There will be no college-wide planning meeting until after the next regular trustees meeting, which is in April. So by the time April rolls around, it's going to be a whole different ballgame. We will know by that time who the new president is, who that person will be coming in, taking over. I hope you all are encouraged. Our search consultant, and by the way, I have nothing to do with the search process. I can't tell you who's applied. I can't tell you anything about it. I have purposefully stepped back because I do not think it is my place to pick my successor. So by April, we will have that person in place, but you should be encouraged because our search consultant has told us he has had more applications for this institution than any other search he's done. And he had, I know that he's in sorting those out, that he got more responses from you all and the students on the surveys that we did. So I would encourage you very strongly to adjust your schedule to be there for the forums, where the public forums where the candidates are coming in. There will be from 3 to 5 candidates. But I would encourage you strongly to be there and ask the questions and make your desires known. I will not be asked, so I won't be making my desires known. But this is an opportunity for you to influence what I call the democratic process. And it's a good process. And I think you're going to get an outstanding president. I really do. I think the person that comes in will just do great things with this institution. But to have 79 applications in this environment for what we call a level 1 school in North Carolina is pretty phenomenal. So it's going to be exciting for me and interesting for me to see how all that process shakes out over the next little bit. Final thing I'm going to say before we get out of here a little bit early is thank you all for the work that you do. You do a phenomenal job. It has been a tough year. It has been a hard year, and it's been a very busy year, and I appreciate all that you do. I don't say it enough. Don't see you all enough to say it enough, but thank you for what you do. I hope you get something out of these sessions. We do this to keep you informed about what's going on. I know when I have worked at other institutions and the board would meet, information would trickle out, and half of it was wrong. It would trickle out. So part of what we try to do here is keep you abreast of what's going on, because there's always somebody who's got a better story than what we tell up here. Unfortunately, it's not the right story. So we try to keep you informed, and I would encourage you that if you do have any questions, to use that, tell us how we're doing. We do, if you leave us your name, we will respond directly to you, but we do address those in one way or another. They are covered at all senior staff meetings that we have. If you write something in there, we don't try to figure out who it is. We try to take care of whatever the issue is, if it's something that we can solve, or if you need us to get back to you, we can do that. But again, thank you. Appreciate what you do. Look forward to seeing you all around the ranch in the next little bit, and you all are dismissed. Thank you.